John 9:16 through 17. Dicebant ergo ex Pharisees quidam, non est hic homo a Deo, quia sabbatum non custodit. Alii dicebant, quomodo potest homo peccator haec signa facere, et schisma erat in eis. Dicunt ergo cae coeterum, tu quid diciste eo qui aperuit oculos tuos? Illa autem dixit quia profeta est. Therefore, some from among the Pharisees were saying, this is not a person from God, since he does not keep the Sabbath. Others were saying, how can a man who is a sinner do these signs? And there was a division among them. Therefore, they say again to the blind man, what do you say concerning him who opened your eyes? And he said that he is a prophet. As far as vocabulary is concerned, we might note a couple of loan words here. The first, again, that we've seen before, sabbatum from Hebrew, which is relatively self-explanatory. We also might want to mark out schisma. Schisma. This is a loan word directly from Greek. Erasmus, our 16th century commentator, glosses this by saying we might just as easily have said dissentio or duisio in Latin, which mean the same things. And hopefully that's helpful to you and the building up of your copia verborum, of your Latin word hoard. There's multiple different ways, besides Greek loanwords in Latin, to say there was a division, there was a disagreement, there was a parting of the ways between them. In eis, we might just as easily have expected to see apud eos, or even inter eos. Here, all of those would be acceptable variations for in eis, but here, as usual, our translator is following the Greek quite closely. And you might notice that I've gone ahead and punctuated this for us, and that's a helpful thing that I recommend you do for yourself, at least mentally when you're reading through these verses. Typically in modern editions of the Vulgate, punctuation is not given, because of course they're not there in the original, but that doesn't mean that we can't think of punctuation as a useful modern tool, especially when we're learning a new language. Relatively early in the stages of that process, to help ourselves think through kind of units of discourse, right? I don't think it's cheating. I think it's just a helpful thing to do. And it can help us notice things like this, where direct speech, propheta est, which is what the blind man said, is introduced by a particle which we expect is going to introduce some kind of indirect discourse, right? But instead what we get essentially is a quotation. What he originally said, propeta est, he's a prophet, is what he said. No accusative infinitive or anything like that. But we can contrast that with other quotations here, which are marked simply by a verb of speaking without any intervening conjunctions like quia, right? Dicebant, and then we're just given what is said. And here's another dicebant, and then we're just, again, given what is said. Similarly with dicunt, we're just given what is said. So there's a few different ways in the Vulgate that we've seen of quoting somebody and relating what they've said. And again, this is something that's a little bit different from what we typically see in a classical Latin text. Now, as far as the meaning is concerned here, the key idea is, who is this person, right? Who is this guy who's opened the eyes of the blind man? Is he a man from God? We've got to understand something in the background there, like a word for sent. Homo, let's say, missus a Deo. And some, at least of the Pharisees, say, well, no, he can't be because he doesn't guard, he doesn't observe the Sabbath, sabbatum, right? Others, however, disagree, and this is a very typical formula. Quidam, ... alii, some thought this, others thought that. Sometimes, maybe more commonly, you'll see alii, ... alii, but quidam and alii can function this way together as a pair just as easily. Others, though, were saying, well, how could a homo peccator, we might ask, well, why not just say peccator? How could a sinner do these miracles? Well, there's a parallelism going on here, right? Homo peccator contrasted against homo a Deo. And this is, in fact, the substance of the division of the dissentio between these two parties, if you will, within the Pharisees on this question. That's what makes up the schisma. Schisma erat in eis, dissentio, divisio